We're coming to your city. We're gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Welcome along to Indiana Sports Beat here on this February 7th. Thanks a lot for joining us. Taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. Jim Coyle sitting in with you as always. Justin Kalen high atop the crew chief's box.
That's right.
Hope you're staying dry and not floating away as the rain continues to come down. But that's okay. I guess that's better than snow and ice.
Absolutely.
Which is something we may be getting again soon. Going from near 70s today to frigid temperatures again tomorrow. Lots on the program today. Talk with Grant Absinthe, see how the Pacers are doing. We'll catch up with Lance Stemler, former player for the Indiana Hoosiers, and we'll talk about tonight's game as they take on number 20 Iowa. Lots to get to. Before we do all that, let's get to the headlines with Justin.
All right, here are your Daily Hoosier headlines on this 7th day of February 2019. Indiana women's basketball dropped a tough one at home last night, 65-61 against Minnesota. Indiana football ends recruiting for 2019 with 6 4-stars and 1 5-star. In Big Ten action last night, Wisconsin over Minnesota 56-51, and Maryland smokes Nebraska 60-45. And Indiana men's basketball set to take on number 20 Iowa tonight at 9 and Simon Scott Assembly Hall. Those are your Daily Hoosier headlines for this 7th day of February 2019. For more information, make sure to check out thedailyhoosier.com.
And yesterday was college football signing day, Indiana. That would have to be who's the 5-star?
Sean Ratcher, the long snapper.
Oh.
But he's a guy that Tom Allen expects to come in and play right away.
At long snapper.
At long snapper. Well, that's a valuable position.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just kind of giggling. I didn't know they had snappers rated at 5 stars.
He is the first 5-star in school history. He's
I understand that. That's why I was chuckling. Hence the chuckle. Yes. So there you go. But the 6 4-stars, that's huge for this program. And what a great job recruiting by Tom Allen. Congratulations to Tom Allen, the entire staff, to pull this class in the midst of overhauling. I don't want to say overhauling, but you defensive and offensive coordinators, pretty big change. Yeah. So to be able to do that amidst all that change, that's pretty daggone good. But a great recruiting class for them. We'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow. We'll go over that. Sammy Jacobs from Hoosier Huddle will be with us, so we'll talk a little more in depth about that class tomorrow. But, man, lots of good pieces.
Yep.
Lots of good things to be happy about.
One thing that stuck out to me from the recruiting class is the fact that Tom Allen pulled 3 of the best 5 in-state players to come to Indiana, 4 of the top 10. So pretty successful within the borders of Indiana as well.
Yeah, it's big importance. None bigger probably than Samson James?
Mm-hmm.
Running back, I think from Avon maybe. But huge because he was the commitment to Ohio State. So not only he flipped from Ohio State to Indiana, which was huge. He did it after Indiana played at Ohio State this year. Do you have Tom Allen sound?
I do.
See what Coach Allen had to say about this.
Not right now, but
okay.
Give me a second to pull it
Let's
up.
don't. We'll also hear from Archie Miller. Archie Miller met with the media yesterday in advance of tonight's contest with the 20th ranked Iowa Hawkeyes. Another opportunity for Indiana to put a little spot on the resume with another ranked team. This would, if they can knock this off, this will give them a top 5, a top 10, a top 15, and a top 20.
You know the saying, you rank them, we spank them.
Quadrant win, another quad 1 win. So, very important. This is a very important game. You win this game, you really stick another feather in your NCAA cap. And that is of great importance to this Indiana team right now because they lost 7 straight. And sitting there with 9 losses is a tenuous position, knowing that you still have 9 games to play. And if, say, you lose 3 of those, that's 12 losses, man. I think they could still get in. I'd like to see them win 7 of the last 9. They win 7 of the last 9. There's just no ifs or buts. And I think they could probably lose 3 and still be okay. But why? Just make it. Don't play it safe.
You think the team's back in a position where they can win 7 of 9?
They can't.
Just
yes.
based off of 1 win over Michigan State?
If they play like that. Juwan Morgan's going to be back. He's playing. He's not out. He'll be there. If they play like they did when Juwan went out. That's the key. Are they too reliant upon Juwan and Romeo? Are they standing around waiting for Juwan and Romeo to do it? And then when Juwan went down, they realized they had to step up. They have to play like that. They have to pretend that Juwan and Romeo are not on the court. I don't know if it's just a mental thing or what, but that's how it has to be. They have to bring it. Because if the other guys don't bring it, it doesn't matter what Juwan and Romeo do. Because 2 on 8 is not going to cut it. But yes, to answer your question, I think they are. Thank you, Archie.
Sorry.
Archie, you wanting to talk?
Well, I was just trying to pull up. He touched on Justin Smith as a leader yesterday when he met with the media. Is it allowed?
Yeah, I didn't know you touched on him. Messed his hair
Uh-huh.
up.
No, but he talked about Smith as a leader and how well he played on Saturday, and if they can try to get that consistent effort like that from him all the time. So see what he had to say.
He did a really nice job against Michigan State. He was really engaged defensively. He made a lot of plays, awareness plays off the ball. He communicated in transition quite a bit, being able to help not only Jake at times or Juwan at times or even Deron at times to be able to get them organized and get them matched up with him and how they were doing things. Offensively, he did a really good job creating action. He got assists without being in the stat sheet with some great screens, and he made some really, really timely plays. Just all in all, he played really hard.
Filling up that leadership.
Coach Archie Miller, talking about Justin Smith, could be a very valuable part of this team if he so chooses to do so. The women, man, I was listening to the women's game last night. They were down 11 with 4 minutes to go. They made a hard charge. They scored, I think, 10 unanswered points. They get back within 1 in the closing minute and just can't quite pull it out. But lose a tough one at home. Yeah. Probably one they shouldn't have lost. But I think Minnesota's a decent team.
They are.
So it is what it is. But, yeah, that was a hell of a charge they made. I mean, down 11, and they come roaring back. But just can't quite get over the hump. And was close. I think they had a rebound. There was a jump ball that they got during that 10-0 run that helped them. But then at the end, there was another that actually I think Minnesota had missed a free throw. Indiana gets the rebound. And I think it was Bree Wiseman, and someone tied her up. And they get the ball back. And that's the ball game right there.
You know who calls those games?
Greg Murray. Shocking to you or something?
No, that's all I needed. I just thought he did a good job. I was just curious who it was.
Yeah, it's the guy that does he does baseball. He does the non-Don Fisher stuff. When it's not big enough for Don Fisher, the voice of the Indiana Hoosiers. I don't have a very good impression of Don. Hard to duplicate greatness, right?
That's right.
Hey, hit us up on the text line, comments, questions. If you have questions today for Grant Absinthe on the Pacers or Lance Stemler, he'll be with us today as well. You can like and follow us on Facebook. The text line number is 812-269-6900. 6367. Like I said, like or follow Indiana Sports Beat on Facebook. You can find the show if you can't find it live on Big X Sports Radio. You can find us many places for a rebroadcast: Apple Play, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play, thedailyhoosier.com, indianasportsbeat.com, or thegruelingtruth.net. Follow me at Twitter, at Jim Coyle, ISB. That stands for Indiana Sports Beat, Justin.
I was always wondering.
But any comments, questions that you may have for guests or anything that's going on, make sure just send them in. Send them right away. Big doings this weekend. Arizona, things are not looking good in Arizona, by the way. We talked about this yesterday with more fallout potentially for the Arizona Wildcats and Sean Miller. It looks like now there is another assistant that's about to be canned, but for a different reason, which is absolutely not a good look for Sean Miller. The pressure on embattled Arizona coach Sean Miller increased Wednesday night with the school announcing that assistant coach Mark Phelps was being suspended with the intent of firing him. An Arizona statement said the school has initiated the process to terminate Phelps, placing him on indefinite suspension. In the meantime, Yahoo Sports confirmed multiple media reports that the suspension was related to academic work by former Arizona recruit Sharif O'Neal, son of former NBA star Shaquille O'Neal, who's now at UCLA. The statement said this personnel action is not related to the federal criminal proceedings in New York or the NCAA's review of the facts underlying the allegations of unlawful conduct. So it has nothing to do with the FBI investigation, but it looks to be potential academic fraud involving Shaquille O'Neal's son. Mark Phelps has done nothing wrong in violation of NCAA rules, his attorney told ESPN. I'm pretty sure it's against NCAA rules.
That's what I'm thinking. How's that not against NCAA rules?
But, of course, you're just denying it, of course. But we'll certainly see. That's just not but it's not a good look for Sean Miller, as his future is already looking pretty cloudy. And that was before the Phelps news broke. He is now the third current or former Miller assistant tied to NCAA improprieties of some form or fashion. A formal NCAA inquiry into the Arizona basketball program has begun, and a federal trial this spring could further ensnarl the Wildcats and Sean Miller. Earlier this year, former Arizona assistant Emmanuel Book Richardson accepted a felony plea in lieu of standing trial. Christian Dawkins, an aspiring agent, will be on trial in April and already has been found guilty of conspiracy charges in a trial last fall regarding corruption in college basketball. Dawkins claimed deep ties with the Arizona program, if you remember. He's like, I could just go in there whenever I want, which he could. And that's going to cost him now. But, yeah, things not looking good for Sean Miller out in Arizona. It's probably a matter of time. I'm sure they would have liked to have gotten through the season. Not sure that happens.
Hot take.
Well, I mean, that's the third assistant involved with NCAA improprieties. You've already got an investigation going on with nothing to do with what that just happened. Now you've got some academic issues in question.
Not good.
No, not good at all. I mean, start planning the escape route. Start planning the escape route because I don't see it lasting this season. Last year, Yahoo Sports reported on Dawkins' emails to ASM Sports, as you're all familiar with, proclaiming he was tied into former Arizona assistant Joe Pasternak, who would help the agency land clients in federal court. Pasternak was accused of offering $50,000 to the family of top recruit Brian Bowen for him to attend Arizona. I know that I saw yesterday Arizona asked for that. There was a suit by Bowen. I think it's the father. Asked that suit be tossed. All kinds of stuff going on with this. The felony guilt plea by Richardson increases the onus on Miller's head coach responsibility. According to NCAA Rule 11.1.1.1, that holds Miller responsible for actions in his program. Richardson is a longtime assistant to Miller, having worked for him at both Xavier and Arizona for more than a decade. The uncertainty of future Arizona basketball has captured the attention of the Board of Regents on their own website Thursday. It said it would include legal advice and discussion regarding the University of Arizona men's basketball. They're talking about it on their own website. So, not good news out west for those guys. But that's just and that's without the NCAA really doing anything here. I mean, they did announce that there's the investigation, which I was a little surprised because they had come out and said nothing's going to happen this year. Now, this latest deal, like I said, has nothing to do with the FBI corruption trial. But it's just another bad look for Arizona. So that doesn't look like that's going to turn out too well. We got to take a break. A lot on the show today. Grant Absinthe is going to join us from the Kokomo Tribune. We'll talk a little bit about the Pacers. But Lance Stemler, former Hoosier baller, is going to be on. Indiana's taking on the 20th-ranked Iowa Hawkeyes tonight. We're going to get into that. We'll hear from Coach Miller, hear from Coach Allen on yesterday's big recruiting day. Lots to get to. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle's back right after this.
Breaking the law, 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 breaking the law.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Hope you're having a great day getting through this rain. Joined now by Sean Bach from 247 Sports Hawkeye Insider. Sean, how are you, man?
Jim, how you doing today? I'm doing all right.
Good, good. Looking forward to some fun basketball tomorrow night as the Big Ten is continuing to show how tough it is as Illinois knocked off Michigan State last night on the heels of Indiana beating Michigan State up in East Lansing, Iowa knocking off Michigan by 20. Some big wins by both of these teams. None needed more than the one by Indiana, I'd say. But these are two teams that are probably battling for some of the same ground right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. I mean, you look at Indiana's situation coming off that 7-game losing streak and getting that big victory against Michigan State, and then Iowa, who kind of had a little small skid of their own and really didn't have that signature win, and they finally got it on Friday against Michigan. So, yeah, I mean, Iowa's probably, if I had to guess, probably pretty solid in NCAA tournament position right now, but there's still a couple wins, a couple games that really could affect their kind of seeding, and same goes with Indiana. I mean, considering how much they've struggled, there's still some games on the table that they could win to get that signature win. I think this one's a big one also.
Yeah, and I've not, and it's not just Iowa, but I did notice Iowa's been building up some decent recruiting classes in the last couple of years as Fran McCaffrey is trying to build that program. Illinois, they big win last night. They've got a 5-star coming in. The Big Ten is showing no signs of weakening in a year where they are as good as they have been in my lifetime right now, and it doesn't look like it's going to slow down anytime soon.
Yeah, Iowa's class coming in is pretty strong. I mean, you have Fran's other son, Patrick McCaffrey, a 4-star kid who's been committed to Iowa for a while. Really good player. People are saying he's got potential to be an all-conference player. And then Joe Toussaint, too, a pickup from New York area, 3-star guard, who a lot of Iowa fans are really excited about because, one, he can do stuff for you on the offensive end, and two, he's a lockdown defender. Will guard the point guard full court. So a lot to be excited about for your Iowa. I mean, they got a couple big targets in 2022. I know they're looking at a couple guys in Indiana down in Lawrence Central. Nigel Pack's one of them, probably one of the best, if not the best guard in Indiana's 2020 class. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Fran's obviously got some big targets, as you guys saw. Was going after Trace Jackson-Davis and Keon Brooks for a while, but those really didn't pan out well. But, yeah, I mean, the Big Ten, it's always going to be good. Even when the teams it's always going to be competitive. Even when the teams aren't maybe as up to par as some of the years before, it's just always going to be a competitive league and a lot of fun to watch.
And I don't mean this in a derogatory sense, but obviously Iowa had no chance to land a Trace Jackson-Davis or Keon Brooks in my mind. But to me, is that a recruit they have to go after just to show that, hey, we're recruiting on a national scene here?
Are you referring to Pack? Or what, the Trace Jackson-Davis and Keon?
Yeah, those type of players, which Iowa, to me, had no chance in hell of landing. But I think you have to recruit those players to show that are saying, hey, we're recruiting on a national level here, then we're on even par. I think they have to do that. Those are the kind of players I don't think that they're going to land, but not that they can't land good players. It's just I don't think you're going to come into Indiana and land Indiana's top 2 targets.
Yeah, I think it's just a thing where I was pretty much trying to get established in the state of Indiana. Obviously, they have Jack Nunge from Castle, who grew up around the Iowa program when he was younger. But I mean, I think they're just trying to establish their connections in Indiana. I know even they've had Christian Lander, top 20, 21 guard on campus, and a few other prospects that they really like, Anthony Leal, Trey Galloway. Do I think they really have best shots with them? I'm not sure. I don't think so, but I think it's still kind of just a battle because, I mean, there's a lot of talent in the state of Indiana. I mean, Iowa's got good high school basketball talent, but it's Indiana for crying out loud. They got the best of the best year in, year out, and there's just a lot of solid players that just know how to play basketball and that can all go to Indiana. That's kind of my saying with it. Not all those guys can go to Indiana or Purdue or Butler or one of those schools. So really,
Notre Dame, or you could go on and on.
Yeah, Notre Dame also. But, it's just because there's always a guy or two that really is looking to play for a Big Ten school, and that'd be a good fit at Iowa. So, I mean, I think it's just in terms of just trying to get connected and really trying to just see if they can get maybe 1 or 2 guys out of the Hoosier State.
And getting Nunge out of Castle, to me, that was a good get. I didn't realize that I was down at the Indiana-Iowa game last year at Iowa when I first saw Nunge. I'm like, how the hell did they get him out of Indiana, down from Castle, like you said, Castle High School in Newburgh, Indiana. But that's a good get. He's a big kid, man. He was a big freshman shooting threes of, 6'11". That's a big dude, man.
Yeah, and he's redshirting this year also, so he kind of came up to Fran McCaffery at the beginning of the year. I think they kind of made a mutual decision with the coaching staff and his parents that, hey, you have a future Big Ten player in front of you with his size and kind of just his versatility. Decent on the defensive end, very good offensively, very, very skilled, inside, outside. Needs to add a little more weight to kind of be that dominant interior player, but with kind of the upside that he has, it makes sense that he sat this one out and gets another few years of eligibility. I mean, because then that just opens up for scholarships also for recruiting, kind of makes the recruiting, or closes down scholarships, so it kind of makes the 2020 and 2021 recruiting classes less hectic.
Talking to Sean Bach from Hawkeye Insider 247 Sports. What you mentioned a prior relationship with Jack Nunge in Iowa. What is that relationship?
With Iowa?
Yes, and Jack Nunge.
Well, I think Jack Nunge, I think he grew up, I don't have the exact story in front of me, but he grew up around Iowa. I think he lived there for a few years, kind of one of the neighboring cities around here, or towns around here. Knew Fran McCaffery for a while. They kind of saw, I don't know if they really saw the potential right away in him, or they kind of just saw him shooting baskets outside, but he's a good player. They kept tabs on him throughout his high school career. On the AAU circuit, I know he was the same age as Fran's son Connor, so the two kind of played against each other during the AAU, and Fran just like, hey, I think you're a good pick. I think Nunge, I'm not sure how great his offer list was. I think he was kind of a mid 3-star level type player, but had really good high school career and a lot of stuff that he brings to the table. Great shooting, as we talked about. Really just a really solid all-around player, and I think that in the end he kind of thought that, hey, Iowa City's home. I mean, I grew up there. I loved it there, that I'm going to come back, and I think he's going to be a really good player down the line. I think this redshirt year is really going to help him out. He showed flashes last year. Had a couple nice games. I think he played pretty well against Indiana, if I recall. And I think he's gonna be a really fantastic player for them in the near future.
We'll certainly see. But the here and the now has arrived, and Iowa comes into Simon Scott Assembly Hall tomorrow night to face a different Indiana team than what most had seen over the last 6 weeks, as that 7-game losing streak in which they just didn't look good in at all, and in so many different ways, evaporated, and in a huge way in East Lansing last Saturday, when not only do they lose Jawan Morgan early in the first half,
they basically didn't have their starting point guard, Rob Finney, who was saddled with foul trouble and would foul out and not score in that game. So for them to do what they did up there was mind-boggling, and how they did it.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana.
Hey, a little technical difficulty there. Justin's right on it, though. Wrapping up that interview, that was good. I'm looking over yesterday's signings from football, and, man, they got a couple of big-timers. And they landed a guy named Josh Sanguinetti. He's the 25th ranked safety in the country out of Lauderdale Lakes, Florida.
Is that good?
Yeah, man. This dude that's the 25th best at his position in the country. That's pretty good. And he comes from Florida. I mean, he's a 4-star prospect. All everything. Comes from South Florida, man. They play some serious football down there.
How many guys are on this recruiting class from Florida now?
I have no
ton.
Just a recruiting class. I have no idea, but I mean, I'd like to. That's a good question. Go through the roster, but that shows good recruiting. If you don't have guys from Florida, you don't have skill positions. That's where the skill positions come from. I mean, then you get linemen, linebackers, things like that coming out of Ohio or Pennsylvania, Indiana, wherever. You mix in the strength from other places, but you got to go out and find these pieces and parts, and they're doing a good job on that.
Yeah, Tom Allen actually met with the media yesterday, and he was asked if there's pressure with such a good class coming in.
I mean, I think it's expectation, which is good. I think, and I don't even know where we rank. I mean, like I said, I don't spend a lot of time on that. I do know that that's talked about a lot, and I know that we've got a lot of really good players that we've signed, and I love our class. I think it's a deep class. It's a very broad class. It addresses a lot of different positions, both sides of the football, special teams, and so But yeah, whenever you invest so much into recruiting like we do, I expect our classes, and they've gotten better every single year I've been here. And so I don't expect that to change. We have to stack a good class upon another good class and another good class. And obviously everybody talks about top 25. I like to talk about top 25 offense, top 25 defense, top 25 football team. So Nick's goal is to be a top 25 recruiting class. That's kind of how I would approach this, So, but whatever that means, to me it's attracting, better and better players to help us get where we want to be on the field, So, yeah, I think that does add some extra, expectation, but that's what you want, And so when you start playing a better level of football, then people expect you to play higher and the next year and then the next year, and then you start attracting really good players and expect those players to perform. And I expect our coaches to do a great job of developing them and our strength staff developing them. So that, to me, is part of the expectation that we want. We're trying to raise that here in this program, and that's what's happening.
And he's certainly doing it. Getting it done is a great recruiting class for Tom Allen and the Indiana Hoosiers this year. 40, I think they're it's like a top 40 class nationally. Yeah. It's only top 10 Big Ten, but that's actually we talked about this with Matt Weaver. They're probably in the 7 to 10 group. There's this is separated by like a player, make a half a point that those last four. So I think they're just in that mix, which is a great place to be because it shows they've elevated. When they're on the other side of that, that'll be nice. But definitely get some nice pickups.
Yeah. I think the highest rated recruiting class in Indiana history.
I'd say it has to be. Well, yeah, it almost absolutely has to be with that 5-star long snapper. Boy, that's like sneaking one in. That's you kind of want to make him a 4.5 just so you don't want to say, oh yeah, who's your only 5-star? Oh, a long snapper.
In school history.
But it is a very, very, very important position. I mean, that's a 4-year starter right there. I mean, let me tell you how many points come off of that. Every extra point, the field goals. I mean, those are critical. It's a critical position. And the sheer fact that you can become a 5-star at doing one thing, snapping the ball, it's not as big as kicking it, I guess, but you can't have one without the other. But overall, though, what a great class! 6 4-stars for this program. big. I mean, you got a guy like I talked about earlier, Samson James, who flipped from an Ohio State commitment to Indiana after Indiana goes to Ohio State and loses there. So obviously doing a great job on that. And then they got a new offensive coordinator, Kalen DeBoer, that looking forward to seeing what he can do. They're going to have a quarterback race next year. There's going to be actual competition for the position between Michael Penix and Jack Tuttle. I mean, everybody's going to say, "Oh, you're forgetting about Peyton Ramsey." Well, I'm trying, but it's exciting to see because they've got a lot of pieces at the receiver core. The running backs room is full and overflowing. They added a couple pieces to this line. Added some in this recruiting class. So we'll see what they can get done. But things we've got to take a break right now, I believe.
Yep.
So let's hit up on the break. We got plenty more coming back. Grant Amseth on the show today. We're going to talk a little bit about the Pacers. Lance Stemler, former Indiana basketball players, on as well. Indiana taking on the 20th ranked Iowa Hawkeyes tonight. We'll talk about that and much more here on Indiana Sports Beat right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days. days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
This hour is brought to you by Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here on this February 7th. Joker texts into the text line, wanted to know how many NCAA championships does the Big Ten have? Was not getting help with Google.
No. That's what I thought initially, too, but I think he means you can't go to Google to help.
Oh, me?
Yeah, like us.
Well, I quickly fired back without Google help. Quickly off my mind. I believe Ohio State has one. I think Wisconsin has one. I think Michigan has one.
Yeah.
I think
Michigan State has 2. Indiana.
And Indiana has 5.
Missing one. Maryland. But they weren't in the Big Ten.
Right? That could be a trick question there, boy. So, and Maryland, of course, came beating Indiana in the championship game. So, you want to talk about the Big Ten being tied to that right there. When Maryland won their NCAA championship, it was beating Indiana to get it. Indiana beat 2 of their 5. They beat Michigan to win it. I mean, the year that Michigan won theirs, Ohio State was top level.
Did we say Ohio State?
I did. Well, you got a mouse in your pocket? I did. Bob Knight was on that team. How about that?
Oh, they won one in the early 2000s, right? As well.
No.
With
Ohio State?
Greg Oden and Mike Conley and them, didn't they win?
No.
What about Jared Solinger and Aaron Kraft? They never won.
No.
I thought they won in 2008, something like that.
Nope. I believe that is. So that would make 11 if you count Maryland, who was not in the Big Ten at the time when they won it. So there's my answer. How you like that?
I love it.
Hit us up on the text line if you got any comments, coach questions for our guest today on the program. That number is 812-269-6367. Like or follow us on Facebook. You can follow the show if you can't catch it live on Big X Sports Radio. You can catch it at a lot of places like iTunes, Google Play, Apple Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, thedailyhoosier.com, indianasportsbeat.com, or thegruelingtruth.net. Follow us. Yeah, you can also follow me on Twitter at Jim Coyle ISB. But Indiana taking on the Iowa Hawkeyes tonight at Assembly Hall. Late tip, man, 9 o'clock tip. Not a lot of games tonight either. I think there's only like 5 games on the docket for this evening. It's a light night. Why is that, I wonder?
A lot of Monday games this week.
Yeah, but usually, Thursday's usually kind of rocking.
Well, 9 o'clock tip tonight. Indiana's going to be rocking.
Then again, though, if you have anybody that plays Thursday games, their weekend game is going to be rough. Indiana has to come back Sunday and play again at home against the Ohio State Buckeyes. So they're going to have a quick turnaround. They've had all this time off from last Saturday to now, but then you got a short turnaround.
Well, the good news is they are at home, so it probably won't feel like a short turnaround.
That helps. Definitely helps after having been on the road for so long this year. Or this stretch that they have been going through here of late. But go ahead.
I was going to get to a text. Tim texted into the show, asked, who is this Luke Brown kid from Blackford? The state's leading scorer and on track to beat Damon Bailey's state record. Sells out gyms like Romeo, coached by 83-year-old Jerry Hoover.
I think that's a relative of his. It's a single-A school.
Yeah, he said he brought his son and son's and relative's son, which is Brown, so he can coach his grandsons together. And his son will take over as coach if something ever happens to him. This team has a winning record, took over a 1-22 team.
Yeah, some guys came in and boom, you build. That's called build a program, like Build-A-Bear. Here's a question for you. All right, this kid is scoring at will, knocking down points left and right. He is on par to beat that record, but he's doing it in the single A class.
Yeah,
he's doing it against single A competition. He's doing it against inferior competition, to be honest with you. And personally, if he were to beat the record, that's great and all that. I think there needs to be a designation that this was a single A situation, because there's no way in hell you're going to tell me that, I don't care if it's Jalen Blackman, Pat Graham, Damon Bailey, whomever, when you're playing 4A ball and you're playing against Floyd Central, New Albany, Evansville Rights, Warren Central, Ben Davis, I can go on and on and on. When that's your schedule and you're scoring these kind of points, that's one thing. But when you're playing tippy-toppy Wallerloo time in, time out, it doesn't do anything for me. It's like playing against an elementary team. You're playing against inferior talent, inferior numbers. It makes a difference. The level of competition makes a difference. Let me tell you, Damon Bailey did this. Romeo Langford did this. All those guys at the top did this against superior talent. Not saying it's not scoring the points, but there's a difference of achieving that. To me, it's just my opinion. But
Tim also goes on to say Archie better offer early like Knight did with Damon Bailey. Do you think an offer should be extended to Luke Brown?
Why? Is he a Division I basketball player? That's my first question. Is he a Division I basketball player?
Tough to say.
Well, no.
You wouldn't think so. Being
Are
from
you
a
hearing
1A
it?
school.
Are you hearing anything about him other than him scoring points?
Right. No, not really.
There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. I think Jalen Blackman's going to be on par to break that record, but he's doing it at a much, much different level. He's doing it playing for Marion. He's doing it playing against high-level competition. I mean, I bring up that it's like Romeo having to play Floyd Central. Very, very tough defensive team. Limited him to his 2 least scoring outputs last year. That kid's not going to see that at the single A level.
Not at least on a consistent basis like you will in 4A.
That, A, he's going to get all the shots that he wants. He's going to be out there as long as he wants. Where Romeo was taken out many times, did not play in the fourth quarter because the game was in hand and there was no point in him being out there.
It's the only reason he came out.
He could have scored more points.
Oh, yeah.
But so it doesn't do much for me. I'll be honest with you. It doesn't do much for me personally. I think it's cool and all that, but do it against 4A competition. Now you're doing something. Now you're getting something done. Or even 3A. I mean, there's a huge difference. Huge difference between 1A basketball in Indiana and 3 and 4A basketball in Indiana.
100%.
It's the difference between junior high school and high school. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. It's just a fact. I mean, not saying that there's not good talent at that level. Of course, you can have talent at any level. But the competition, night in, night out, just isn't going to be there. You don't have the numbers. You don't have the size. You don't have the strength. There's a reason they have class basketball. Why do you think that is? Because 4A is better than 3A, is better than 2A, is better than 1A. There's a reason they have class basketball now. Because these schools are these small 1A schools. Oh, well, we can't compete with those guys. Then you should not be allowed to compete for records against those guys.
That's a good point.
You want this all to count? That's fine. Then make it one class. Because it's not the same. They've already said it's not the same. They made class basketball because they're saying it's not fair to these 1A schools because they can't compete. Well, there you go. There's your answer to me.
Yeah, and I can really attest to that. I went to a 2A school, and we were not very good at athletics, but yet every time we went to play a 1A school, we would just beat their ass, and we always enjoyed going to the 1A schools. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. They absolutely do not have the same level of competition. I mean, it's still impressive, though, the way he's scoring the ball. And Tim texting the show again. Kid is triple-teamed every game and still makes his shot.
And he may be the real deal. I have not seen him play.
Right.
So, again, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's not. But as far as scoring all those points, it makes a difference on who you're doing it against. Yeah. Joker also texted in that Luke Brown has crazy long range and confidence to shoot the ball anytime. He's a kid that will end up at IUPUI, then play at IU, bust out 50 every time he plays IU. Oh, then no. He's saying he's a kid that will go to someplace like IUPUI, and when they play IU, he'll bust out for 50. He says he'd offer him because he would bring heart and competition to the team. You know what? I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with bringing in a small-town Indiana kid. Because you know what? He may just be the shooter that they need.
Well, they got to wait 3 years. But
yeah. Was he only a freshman?
Sophomore.
Yeah. So, very, very possible. That class is going to be nuts. That Indiana class, I guess that's 2021, that's going to be crazy. You got Luke Brown, you've got Jalen Blackman, you've got Christian Lander. Wow.
And that's only the guys we know about now.
Dude, it's going to be a loaded class. It'd be very interesting to see who Indiana gets out of that class. That could be the class that sets Indiana back on course with achieving the greatness that they were accustomed to under Bob Knight and Branch McCracken. That class has been talked about for a little bit now. It's going to be very, very loaded. Keep the text coming here on the text line, 812-269-6367. Appreciate those that have been in so far. On the program today, Grant Afseth, Kokomo Tribune. We'll talk a little bit about the Pacers. They're hanging in there, man. They're hanging in there. Lance Stemler, former Hoosier baller, will be here. We're going to talk about the Indiana-Iowa game tonight, what they have to do to continue the play we saw against Michigan State, which is something they must do if they have any dreams of making it to the dance this year. And it would be a huge disappointment if they didn't. Not having played in the last 2 seasons is
hard to believe.
Now that may be. What's the record for not playing in the NCAA tournament at Indiana? Now, in the modern age, because back in the day, can't really go by that because in the beginning, 4 teams made it, jokingly. So since it's gone to 64, they've never missed 2 years in a row, I don't think.
I couldn't imagine, no.
So 3 would just be not good. Not good at all. But it's something they could definitely get a handle on. They are in position to do that. The schedule is set up for them to do that. 6 out of their last 9 games are at home. They have got to take advantage of that. We'll talk to Lance about that and what they have to do. But I really believe that Jawan going down was for that game was the best thing that could have happened to that team. Not just for the Michigan State game, but going forward. They see that they can contribute. They see what happens when they do contribute. And they see what happens when they act as a team. It was beautiful. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was still beautiful. It was beautiful because they overcame a lot of stuff and never quit.
You're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle here on this 7th day of February. Appreciate you taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. Thanks a lot for taking Indiana Sports Beat along on the ride. Justin Kalen, high top the crew chief's box as always.
That's right.
Hope your day's off to a good start, and we can add to that. Trying to keep you dry. Better grab the umbrella because it looks like it's going to be a rainy one today for certain. As the rain has settled in before the cold temperatures come back. A lot on the program. Grant Afseth from the Kokomo Tribune will join us. We'll talk a little bit about the Pacers as they striving to hold on without Victor Oladipo. Lance Stemler, former IU basketball player, joins us as well. We will preview the Indiana-Iowa game tonight as Indiana takes on the 20th-ranked Hawkeyes. Before we get to Indy and all that, let's get to the headlines with Justin.
All right, here are your Daily Hoosier headlines for this 7th day of February 2019. Indiana women's basketball dropped a tough one at home last night, 65-61 against Minnesota. Indiana football ends recruiting for 2019 with 6 4-stars and 1 5-star, highly regarded as the best class in Indiana football history. And Big Ten action last night with Wisconsin over Minnesota 56-51, and Maryland smokes Nebraska 60-45. And Indiana men's basketball set to take on number 20 Iowa tonight at 9 o'clock in Simon Scott Assembly Hall. Those are your Daily Hoosier headlines on this February 7th, 2019. For more information, make sure to check out thedailyhoosier.com.
And welcome back. Indiana on the road or at home tonight against the Iowa Hawkeyes, back in the friendly confines of the Simon Scott Assembly Hall, as they hope to continue the good works they did up at East Lansing, knocking off the Michigan State Spartans, getting off the schneid of that 7-game losing streak, and now they hope they can build onto something as they head down this stretch and try to put themselves into the NCAA tournament, which they have the opportunity to do. The remaining season schedule is set up for that. 6 of 9 games will be at home at the Assembly Hall. Starting with tonight's against the 20th-ranked Iowa Hawkeyes. Sunday they come back against Ohio State, a team that's been in and out of the rankings. They also have to face Wisconsin, who's ranked 19th. They've got to play Michigan State yet. They've got to play Purdue yet. At least those games are at home. But a lot of opportunities. On the scoreboard last night, Maryland goes on the road. And you can kind of see the Big Ten is taking form right now. Maryland, number 24th, they go into Nebraska, and they shut Nebraska down, holding them to 45 points, which is amazing. That is a low-scoring game, 60-45, but Maryland comes out of there with a win. And then Wisconsin also on the road at Minnesota. They come out of there with a hard-fought 56-51 win. But you can see, like I said, the Big Ten's starting to take shape. The teams at the top. You got Michigan State, Purdue, Wisconsin, Maryland. Those 5 have kind of separated themselves from everybody else. Then you've got Indiana's in that next group, although they probably have the most losses. But Indiana's a funky team, man. A funky team. That funk that they just were going through, weird. Weird deal. And to come out of it the way they did, just as weird. We'll talk about that with Lance, but they've got to continue that effort, as Iowa's not coming in looking to lose. They're ranked 20th in the country. They want to also be one of these teams coming in and winning on the road. Indiana's got to hold serve at home, no doubt. They've got to maintain. They've got 6 of 9 at home finish this season strong. They need to win. Definitely need to win 6 out of the 9 games, but I'd like to see them win 7 out of 9 to really confirm their path in the tournament. But, of course, along that way, if they're winning these games, that means you're beating a Purdue, you're beating a Michigan State, you're beating a Wisconsin, you're beating an Iowa. I mean, these teams are all ranked teams. So they've already beaten 4 ranked teams this year. They got Michigan State, which was top 5. You got a top 10 team in Marquette, top 15 team in Louisville. So Indiana needs to keep it up.
Only thing missing is the top 20.
Add that next. You beat Iowa tonight. They add that to the resume.
You realize Iowa went undefeated in non-conference play?
No, but a lot of teams do that.
11-0.
Well, that's the key to having a good season. That certainly helps.
Yeah.
Puts you on track for the tournament, which they have no doubt will have. Archie Miller met with the media yesterday as Indiana prepares to take on the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, I wanted to touch a little more on the leadership thing. We heard him say after the Michigan State game on Saturday that there was a little more clarity in terms of leadership. So he was actually asked that yesterday and asked to expand on that answer.
It's just you got to do your job. You know, you don't have the luxury of being, whether you're an upperclassman or regardless of your status and age, you have to do your job. And I think the clarity of that is you can't have a team that's emotionless in terms of the way that they approach one another, regardless of how the game is going with the ups and the downs. You can't show body language or show a team that just, quite frankly, is not pulling together. And I think we were very, very hard on our guys in terms of that just coming in. But I think after the Rutgers game, it was really evident to them as we watched film, and you just take a look at the huddles and what's going on a foul call. Is just guys, quite frankly, worrying about the wrong things, not the next play. I thought against Michigan State, we were much more engaged with one another.
Todd Leary said it best. He uses a phrase that he calls positive touches. And what that just lays exactly in what Archie was talking about right there. I know exactly what he means, and Todd hit it point spot on. And this has been a couple of games back in one of our post-game shows that Todd Leary was talking about this. And positive touches or anything as much as a guy coming in and out of the game, subbing in and out. When they sub in and out, are they giving each other a high five? Are they, slapping them on the butt, back? Hey, I got 12, man. He's pounding me down lower. He's doing this, whatever. Just a camaraderie kind of thing. The body language in the huddle. Guys got arms around the other guys, positive touches. This team has not had that. They have been robotic. I've been talking about that for a long time.
Months.
Emotionless, devoid of emotion, devoid of interaction. And it was permeable. And obviously it's to the point where Archie now talks about it. I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time. But it has finally permeated down into the minds of the players, I guess. Because what we saw Saturday night at East Lansing was a total different team. Was a team that seemed to be in lockstep with one another. I mean, I'm not going to say it was kumbaya and all that great moments, but it was enough. It was enough to show that they want to play with each other. They didn't. Todd had said many times, they don't act like they have fun playing with each other.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And Archie really just hit on that finally. I think that's something that was completely unexpected. Usually teams just form. You don't need to do a lot. This was not that team. This team, somebody last night, I was talking about it, and Doc Martin hit it, or actually it was Richard, at the prayer meeting talking about Romeo's a pro already. He plays like a pro. They have the ability to not let little things get to them. And I've always said that's a great, endearing quality because that allows you to make great decisions in time of crunch when everyone else is falling apart. But it can also be a negative because sometimes you need that jolt of something different that's not manufactured, that's natural. And if you don't possess that, you just can't call upon it. And I think this team has, obviously, we've talked about it ad nauseum, lacked that to the nth degree. And I hope that what they saw Saturday from each other is enough to keep that going. Because without that, this team is not. You must have that. You must have that it. Whatever you want to call that, but you must have it. And that's camaraderie. And that has not been apparent on this team until now.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the major reasons why I had the past few weeks haven't been enjoying watching this team because you weren't getting.
How the hell are you going to enjoy it?
Right.
You just.
But Saturday was a hell of a lot of fun.
Oh, it was nothing but fun, and win or lose, you felt good about that team. Win or lose, you felt good about that team. Now it would have been awfully disappointing if they lost because they had so many opportunities to win it, and they did. But had they lost, the effort would have been there. It would have been, well, at least, the effort was there. Well, they had the effort and a win. Now, hopefully that, and there's no doubt to me that Juwan Morgan going down was the impetus for that. It's sad that that's what it took, but it did. But it's here, and he's back. He's fine. He's going to be playing tonight. They've got to get more out of Rob Finney, I can tell you that. Rob's kind of hit a freshman wall, and that's all it's to be expected. Be nice timing to get him back now. And it's even more amazing that they accomplished what they did Saturday with all that they were missing.
Well, it's like Archie said. I mean, everybody had to come together and do their job.
Exactly.
It's the only way you're going to win.
Exactly. Come together and do your job. That had been the problem. Everyone had been trying to do their job apart from everyone else, not in concert with everyone else. Romeo had, 4 or 5 assists in that game?
Mm-hmm.
That's way more than he normally has. He was driving, and when his shot wasn't there, he was dishing. That is the difference between a winning team and losing 7 in a row. I'm not pointing to one thing. It's being a team. They are obviously a team. That it was welcomed. He was looking for guys. Romeo looking for Devontae or whatever. Devontae looking for Romeo or Al Durham. And Al Durham, another one. I can't talk about him enough. Dislocates his fingers, got to get it popped back in place on the sideline, and obviously in pain. But he comes back in and plays.
It's funny how basketball, being the team game and as it is, you need the team to come together, play together.
We were talking about their long snapper earlier, the Indiana 5-star. Kevin texted in, our 5-star long snapper officially goes down as a 2-star and brings down our national rankings, which isn't right. Really?
No.
Very possible. Got to investigate that.
That would make sense from what we were talking about earlier.
Well, yeah, it does. It absolutely does. Well, we got to take a break. We got a lot more coming up on the program today. Thanks a lot for joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. Grant Afseth from the Kokomo Tribune. We're going to talk a little bit about the Pacers. See how they're holding on to their playoff lives as Victor Oladipo is out for the season. Lance Stemler, former Hoosier Baller, is also on the show. Stick around. Indiana Sports Beat's back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch specials. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here on this 7th day of February. Is that mic cutting out, or is that my headphones cutting out?
I think your mic's cutting out.
Kind of sounded like it. Better switch. How's that?
Perfect.
Much better. Yeah, I can hear that little issue going there. Talking with Grant Asfith here in a little bit, catching up with the Pacers as they are trying to hold on to their playoff lives. As Victor Oladipo has been lost for the season. But they've been hanging on. They hung a 42-point loss onto the Lakers the other night. LeBron James' biggest loss ever. How that happens, hard to tell. 136-94 they won that game. They take on the Clippers tonight at 7. But Indiana's trying to maintain one of those spots in the Eastern Conference. Although, without Victor Oladipo, I got to be honest with you, I can't imagine them winning any series unless they make a change and are able to pick up someone in the free agency market as they head down the second half of the season. Without Victor Oladipo, they just don't have that scoring drive, and I just don't see them maintaining that ability to do that. But we'll certainly see.
It is trade season.
Well, they have to do something.
Did you see the NBA trades yesterday? There were so many.
No, because everything's been dominated
many
by the Lakers and New Orleans with
Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis. The trade that New Orleans turned down. Oh my gosh. Are you out of your mind? You're never going to get that again.
Trying to work with Boston now. Even though Boston's not on Anthony Davis's trade list.
They don't care.
Exactly.
They're going to lose him regardless. They figure they might as well get something.
At this point, why would you want to send him to somewhere he wants to go?
Well, especially someone that's going to be a conference competitor. I get it. But they should, because they could have built an entire freaking franchise off of what L.A. was offering them.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll let us see how that turns out. But maybe we'll get with Grant a little bit. I think he's not available at the moment. But also yesterday was college football signing day. Huge day as Indiana wraps up their recruiting for this season. They fill in some nice parts to go with a great recruiting class that they already had. It was a top 40 class nationally. I think it ended up being 10th in the Big Ten, and it doesn't sound great, and it's not that it's great, but actually they're in that they're in that 7, 8, 9, 10 area. All those 4 teams separated by like a half a player. You're in good shape. They're in good shape. They got a lot of good pieces for what they needed. They added to that yesterday with the safety out of Florida, top 25 safety in the country. Very good defensively for Indiana. They've added some great offensive parts. Of course,
Tuttle, the quarterback from the Utah transfer. He's a freshman. He kind of counts in his class because he's not played. Indiana with, I think, 6 4-star players. They got their first debatable 5-star. We're still researching that, the viability to that. But
Tom Allen was actually asked yesterday about some of the impact recruits coming in. Let's hear what he had to say so we can know what names to look out for next year.
I've been asked that a couple times, and we kind of discussed it as a staff. And first of all, you don't really know for sure. You know, like we kind of go back and think about last year's group, and you know, you just said Stevie Scott was going to do what he did. Not many people would have predicted that, you know, and so you don't really know. But if I just, when you think about it, a guy that jumps out to me you may not expect is Sean Ratcher. You know, even though he's a long snapper, I mean, he may be our starting long snapper, you know, and so that guy has a huge role, you know, big shoes to fill, you know, but at the same time, a very, very important role on this team coming in as a true freshman. So that'd be the first guy I think of. Juan Harris is the guy that I expect to can be a big contributor for us. You know, CO, another D tackle, just because of what we lost on the defensive line, the mass of guys up front that we're trying to replace. I think he could be a guy that can help us early on. You know, Antoine Whitner, another guy. You talk about replacing some of those interior defensive line guys. I think those guys could be in the mix for sure. You know, David Ellis, with his skill set, versatility, I could see him being a guy involved in special teams, and you know it's maybe a little easier to get involved than, you know, the offensive line's hard. You know, it's hard to come in as a true freshman and play right away. So we'll see how those guys adjust. I mean, we could have some of those guys maybe in some backup roles up front, but I think it's hard to come in and be a starter. Coy Crunk's one of the few guys, you know, that can come in as a true freshman and play in the Big Ten on the offensive line. He did that and did it very, very well, but I think that's hard to do. You know, Samson James, another guy, you know, he's coming through and getting himself healthy, but man, we work so hard, and he's so big and strong, and Ivory Winter, same thing. He may need some time to figure it all out, but physically, he just kind of, when he walks in the room, you would notice him as a guy that looks like he could play, you know, on Saturdays, you know. So just to kind of name a few guys, I'm missing some, I'm sure, but you know, it's a good group, but it's like all groups, they got to be developed. You know, once they come here, their stars are all gone, and whatever they did in high school really doesn't mean anything. You know, I think that they just got to come in and have that mindset. There's no question that Tywon Mullen's a guy that I expect to help us in some way, shape, or form. And in his mind, I guarantee he's coming here to start. You know, so that's just kind of how he thinks, and that's how he's wired, and that's what you want. You know, so but we never promise that to anybody, and we're very, very clear on that. We promise opportunity. So if you're going to get, especially by position and by graduation at certain spots, there's opportunity for sure. But you know, I just think that the guys got to come in here and work, and once they get on campus, we'll see what they do, what the opportunity they've been given, and then certain guys take advantage of it more than you expect, and some guys that you think are going to come in don't, and that's probably been the case every single year. I'm sure it won't be any different this year.
Coach Tom Allen talking about the recruiting class overall and finishing up after National Signing Day yesterday. But good recruiting class for Indiana. Good things expected. You got a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. So looking forward to progress for the Indiana football program next year. Hopefully we will see that. Then tonight, of course, Indiana taking on Iowa at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall as Indiana tries to continue a winning streak now after beating Michigan State to get off the 7-game losing streak. They are in position to put themselves in the NCAA tournament if they can play the kind of ball that we saw them play Saturday, without a doubt. Hopefully we'll get that effort tonight, the same effort that they put forth on Saturday against Michigan State. They're going to have to because Iowa's coming in to win. They're ranked 20th, and they want to secure as good a seed as they can for the NCAA tournament. And a win over Indiana on their home floor, that's a nice resume builder for Iowa.
For sure.
A lot of things going on in college basketball. Things not looking too good out in Arizona for Sean Miller, brother of Archie Miller. You know, it's well known that they've been mentioned more times than once in regards to the NCAA and FBI investigation. Emmanuel Book Richardson, a former assistant coach, has already pleaded guilty to some charges. The school was informed that there was an NCAA investigation underway, and now they have yet another assistant coach, Mark Phelps, the third assistant coach that has had NCAA problems here in recent past. Nothing to do with the FBI investigation. This seems to have academic issues involving Shaquille O'Neal's son, Sharif, who's now at UCLA. But he was that assistant, Mark Phelps, has been suspended with the intent to fire. Has was the word coming down from the Board of Regents at Arizona. So, and then what does all that mean for Sean Miller? I don't know, but I can't think that any of it is good.
Seems shady.
Well, it does not look good for his time in Arizona. Many people thought that he was gone last year after he was implicated in potentially being heard on some wiretaps, but that never came to fruition, that ESPN report. But still yet to be seen on what might happen there. But that word there, things not looking well out there. But tonight, Indiana's taking on Iowa. Like I said, Archie Miller met with the media yesterday as the Hoosiers prepare to take on the 20th-ranked Hawkeyes in a game that they have to have. As I've said, as we all know, they've got to put forth the effort. But playing as a team is something they hadn't done this year. They did Saturday. Leadership, he talked about that earlier. We heard him. But Archie Miller met with the media. And what else were the topics of conversation?
He was asked about Iowa's zone. You saw them struggle at times, and you've seen them struggle at times this season going against the zone. So let's hear what he had to say about Iowa's zone.
Well, extend their defenses after free throws and makes, three-quarter court, which slows you down. And then obviously when they drop, back, you're going to have to recognize the sort of zone that they're playing, whether it's traditional, whether it's more of an odd front matchup. And sometimes they'll even drop back man-to-man. So, they can keep you off balance a little bit with that, and they take away the rhythm. And they've done a really nice job with that over the course of the season. And they put their guys in a really good situation, I think, at times to be big. They play really, really a lot of size as well. So without question, it's definitely a concern. And they're changing defense. They're extending defenses. One of the few teams in the league that will really give you that look.
Juwan going to play?
As far as I know, yeah. I mean, he's been back in practice here the last couple of days and doesn't see any setbacks. I think, we avoided maybe a bigger problem. Again, being on that shoulder, I think he was really, really scared at the time. He's had some incidents there, but I think as it got calmed down and he got home and got some therapy and some treatment, he's feeling good and he hasn't missed practice.
That's great news for Hoosier fans. Juwan Morgan expected to play, but that's kind of been the word all along. But more of a precautionary thing. He probably could have played in that game against Michigan State. Yeah. They just did not have the ability to do an MRI to make sure there was nothing wrong. But thank goodness that there's not. That is the shoulder that he had problems with previously. Actually, it's surgery. It kept coming dislocated, I think, his freshman year, and he finally got surgery in that offseason to repair that. So there was a lot of scare in that regard. But he'll be back in the lineup tonight, and so Indiana should be full, as good as they've been in a while as far as health-wise. From my knowledge, you've got everybody available. Race Thompson is someone I don't know about yet, and that is something I didn't hear mentioned yesterday, which is a little surprising because that's got to be a question. I don't know I couldn't make the press conference to ask the question, but I'm very curious because he's missed this entire time with the head injury. Then he finally gets cleared and he catches the damn flu, and so he's missed the last few games because of the flu, and he can't get the rest of the team sick. It's crazy how this season has gone, but hopefully he will be able to return and see what he can add to this team.
Yeah, Tim actually texted in about Race Thompson, asked if we will see Race Thompson, and that he needs to see at least a few minutes.
It's a good question, and I'm surprised that it wasn't a topic of conversation. So, yeah. But is that something you risk doing now, messing with this team has had no chemistry. They finally put the right chemistry together Saturday, and hopefully that continues. But do you risk messing with the formula by adding another ingredient to that? Or do you make it better by bringing in somebody who can come in for 5 minutes and play like his hair's on fire for 5 minutes? Does that work to the beneficial side? That's something I look forward to asking Lance Stemler when he joins us in the next segment. Very curious on the dynamic of that, because this team's dynamic has been very tenuous this year, obviously, and we've talked about it constantly. And they finally have developed a team chemistry, it appears. How much can you play with that? How dangerous is that to mess with at this point? Curious questions. Fran McCaffrey, I'm disappointed. I had Sean Book on yesterday from 247 Sports in Iowa, and I meant to ask him how crazy is Fran McCaffrey, because from the outside, he just seems like he's a nutbug. I mean, the faces that he makes, it cracks me up. For one, I'm like, brother, you got to win something before you can act like that. You haven't earned that. That reminds me of the movie Gangs of New York when Bill the Butcher, he hasn't earned the death at my hand. Well, he hasn't earned. It cracks me up. The guys like him and Frank Martin. I'm like, chill, dudes. You got to win something before you can act like that. But Fran McCaffrey, we'll see. But we get to enjoy his faces, and you can always. There was a thing out last year that talked about 0 to 10 on the McCaffrey scale on how
FranCon.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Just how he really can go off the charts. Tim Miles went off the charts last night in the game that Nebraska lost at home. Saw that. What's the big guy from Maryland?
Marie?
No,
that's Rutgers. Bruno Fernando?
Yes, Bruno Fernando has a monster dunk, and a guy falls underneath of him. And he steps over him, and looks down at him, kind of that deal. And Tim Miles goes off. I think he got a tactical. He was out on the floor. But that was more about them getting handled at home, I believe. Yeah. But keep the text coming. 812-269-6367. Lance Stemler's joining us up next. Bill Evans. Bill texts in that, speaking of Race Thompson, is it possible they're holding him out for hardship additional redshirt year?
Could be.
Good question. Good question, Bill. We'll certainly have to find out. But we got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat right after this. Stay tuned.
California, where the girls are warm, so I could hear my sweet baby say.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for
that's
over
the regular
30
one.
years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family.
Sounds
just
different?
off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry.
No difference.
812-246-3368.
No difference.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines.
A much better
so before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
In which they dealt with a 7-game losing streak during that span, but they changed all that Saturday night with an effort and a game that none of us expected. But it was a very, very welcome sight, and as we're joined by former baller Lance Stemler. Lance, how are you, brother?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Cannot complain. Just trying to stay out of the rain and stay dry right now.
I know, right? It goes from 20 to 60, but rainy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And just like it couldn't be any crazier than the effort and the performance we saw Saturday night as the Indiana goes to East Lansing and does something they've only done for the third time in 30 years, win in East Lansing, and they did it without Juwan Morgan and basically without Rob Phinisee for the most part for that game.
Yeah, that was kind of like that Arctic freeze came and warmed up, right? Yeah, that's a tough place to play. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a reason why the stats that you just said was the third win in however many games.
30 years.
Well, they're always well coached with Coach Izzo, and just one of the tougher environments you're going to walk into in the Big Ten play, and to be able to tough that thing out when there were so many opportunities for them to fold or have an excuse to not win, to grind it out and find a way to win, get into overtime, and I'm sure a lot of people were watching just like me, like, oh, no, not overtime, because you're just expecting something to give, and they held strong. So it was a great game to watch, kind of hopefully the next step for this team. Potentially, were they playing for Juwan? Were they playing for whatever it was? They keep that.
Absolutely, and I think that was such a I've said that Juwan going down may have been the best thing to happen to this team this year. The fact that he was only down for that game helps. But him going down, it seemed to galvanize these guys in a way that they had not been able to do themselves as far as playing as a team. We talked about it so much that they just didn't look like they were enjoying playing with each other and didn't look like they were enjoying playing the game. And all that changed when Juwan goes down Saturday at Michigan State.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not around them enough to know the complete mindsets, but from the outside looking in, things like that give you an excuse to get out of your own head and stop worrying about yourself. And especially, and I'm sure Juwan's revered on that team as the senior, as the hardest worker, as this and as that, and all of a sudden he goes down with an injury. Regardless of what's going on, if you're on that team, all of a sudden you're feeling like, well, right now I've got to do it for him. And then all of a sudden you have a whole team feeling that way, and for the first time in a while, they're all on the same page. It's one purpose. It's not looking like the individual worrying about yourself. And that's what, anytime you go through adversity, that's what people kind of shell back into their own little world versus what am I doing for the team?
Yeah, and Mike Schumann pointed out a great stat, and it kind of goes back to not having all the parts this year, that when De'Ron Davis and Devontae Green both play at least 5 minutes or more in a game, Indiana lost one game this year, and that was on the road at Duke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's it's so easy to forget about, right? I mean, you go through the losing streak, and everyone wants to blame this or that or the other, and everyone thinks, well, if you say injuries, we should be deep enough. We should be this. We should be that. Well, coming into the year, we looked to be deep, and then a few injuries happen, and then a few more, and all of a sudden you're not as deep as what you thought, because guys that you thought would give you some minutes and help you some, all of a sudden have to be thrown to the forefront. But yeah, the key to this team, they get healthy, string together a couple things, get confidence, start playing for each other. Then all of a sudden you see the potential that they had at the beginning of the year come through.
Yeah, because now, going off of that stat of talking about Duran and Devontae, now if you add Juwan Morgan to that mix, a healthy Juwan back in this game, and Rob Phinisee that is producing the way he had been earlier in the year, he had a terrible game at Michigan State. He fouled out. He had no points, took one shot. I don't know if he even had any assists, but not a great game. He's performed pretty well all year long, just kind of hitting a freshman wall a little bit. But if they can get him back and those guys play like they did Saturday when Juwan was out, if they can play with him in like that, this team has got a very, very high upside.
Oh, there's no doubt. The potential is there for this team, and I think everyone knows it, and that's where some of the frustrations came through that losing streak. And believe me, there's no person or nobody more frustrated than within that locker room during that time, trying to figure it out. No one working harder than what they are. But the other difference is all of a sudden in Michigan State you start making some shots. And you start making some outside shots, and it opens everything else up. So, I mean, that's going to be key is to not letting your defense or not letting your lack of shooting or missing shots dictate what you do on the defensive end.
Yeah, and tonight they face a team in the Iowa Hawkeyes that's ranked 20th in the country that has been playing decent basketball this year as well. They're in a similar situation. They want to secure they're going to make the tournament, but they want to secure as good a seed as they can, and a win over Indiana on the road would be huge for Iowa. And this is a team in Indiana that they've got to respect every team in the Big Ten now, and I think everybody knows that by now because it's just tough top to bottom. So there are no nights off. It doesn't matter where you're playing, and it is hugely important to me, this game right here for Indiana, because if they don't follow that Michigan State game up with a great performance and a win at home, I think that is a serious death knell to the season.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure the coaching staff is preaching that as far as no letdown from that high of Michigan State. Sometimes you see a lull. However, I'm sure they know how good of a team this Iowa team is, how well coached they are, and what they're playing for. So, and right now, Indiana's playing for their season. They've got to be perfect at home the rest of the year to give themselves a shot at postseason, which a week and a half ago, people would have thought you were crazy if you mentioned that, just the way they were playing and all that. But all of a sudden, one game, can it snap them out of it, and can they build on that? So it's definitely going to be an interesting one, and hopefully that home crowd helps them, helps support them regardless of what things go on in this game tonight, and they just build on that Michigan State win.
Absolutely. It's a game that Indiana has to win, like I said, and they're going to face a team in Iowa that's they're a run and gun team. They're up high in the adjusted offensive efficiency in the Big Ten. Their 3-point field goal shooting is good. They're a good shooting team. They are a solid team. McCaffrey has got a decent squad built here, and this is the Big Ten. Illinois, look at Illinois. They're building up too, but this is an Iowa team that's a year or two ahead of that Illinois squad. So this is a program that is being built right now by McCaffrey, and they're on pretty solid ground as far as being a decent program, and so they have to be respected every game now.
Oh, absolutely. And Coach McCaffrey his programs in general are solid. And I haven't seen this year's roster. Maybe you could say one, but for the most part, his teams are built with older, mature, key players, which always helps when you're on the road, always helps when you're this time of year and what you're playing for. So they're not gonna lay down. There's gonna be runs, there's gonna be this and that, but when you have a mature team, well-coached team, they generally don't go away. It's kind of scary. They're like Nebraska or like any other good team that's solid and just mature. They're gonna make their runs. They're gonna play.
And last game, Deron Davis was a huge impact on that game, coming in unexpectedly and given 25 great minutes. They're going to need him again this week to go with Juwan and to go with Justin Smith because Luke Garza and Tyler Cook from Iowa form one of the best 1-2 punches in the conference in the post. Cook's an exceptional rebounder. He finishes well at the rim. He draws a lot of fouls, almost 7 a game. Garza's also efficient down low. He's a good shooter at the free throw line, but he can step out and knock down a three-pointer. So they're going to have to really play well down in the paint.
Yeah, and Deron, given those minutes, and he's so efficient scoring on the block and just does his thing down there. And it takes the load off of the rest of and the question of where's the next score coming from, because it all can't come from Romeo and Juwan. So who's the next one to step up? And having multiple guys with the ability to do that, and then just having Deron back in that role and the big body, kind of plugging things up is just a huge thing that they've been missing.
Yeah, and it's a great, although offensively, that duo for Iowa forms a good punch. They're not as good defensively as a team, Iowa down low. So it's going to give Deron Davis and Juwan Morgan and Justin Smith plenty of opportunities because they're not good at defending the 2-point shot close to the rim. They're not good at forcing turnovers. So Indiana's going to have a great ability here tonight to come out of here with a win against a good team, but a team that Indiana equally matches up to and is probably a little bit better on paper.
Yeah, and like you said, as long as the effort's there, we can stay healthy throughout the game, then I like the chances. You just want to see them fight. You want to see them show up, and this would be a very nice win for them moving forward and building on, like we said before, building on that Michigan State game.
Talking with Lance Stemler, former Hoosier player. Lance, as a player, the turnaround that we saw Saturday night, I mean, it was palpable. You could see, obviously, you've seen this team all year long. You've seen how they played without emotion, without Todd Leary calls it positive touches. They don't have positive. They're not giving each other five. They're not slapping each other on the butt. They're just not, that hadn't been there. But the turnaround we saw Saturday, have you ever even seen something that drastic or been a part of something that much of a swing? Because that was a huge pendulum swing.
It definitely was. And have I been a part of that? No. I've been a part of teams that are on that good side most of the time, just being good teammates, and part of the thing that I watch for when teams play is, all right, a guy dies on the floor. How many of his teammates are going to run over and pick him up?
Exactly.
It's time for a free throw. You watch the good teams, they huddle up real tight and they talk. They're not all spread out. Something happens, they don't walk their own direction, that type of thing. And you started seeing that, but it's what's the purpose you're playing for? Are you playing for yourself? You're playing for the school? Like, what are you playing? Are you playing for the coach? That's what it comes down to, and just getting that feel back. Because early in the year when they were winning close games, they were in it together. There was a feel of, well, we're gonna win this game, and then that swings the other way, and all of a sudden your mindset is, oh no, something's gonna happen, and we're not gonna win this game. And then it was like something clicked, and was it playing for Juwan? Was it whatever it was? And I'm sure the coaches have been beaten on this for 7 during that entire streak. So it's good to see them get it back. Hopefully, like I said, just it will get built on and kind of move forward and get something going towards the end of the year.
Yeah, and how, as an individual, how hard is it to play the game and much less try to win the game when the situation is like it was, when you don't have that positivity, when you don't have that camaraderie, when you don't have just being in conjunction with one another? It wasn't there, so it was virtually almost impossible for that team to win, I would think.
Yeah, it's extremely hard to play. And from the outside, people think, well, you're playing basketball, you're doing this. Well, it turns from being fun to being a job. And as anyone knows in any line of work, if it's just a job, it's a grind, right? I mean, everything you do, it's just like, oh, okay, I have to be here, I have to go through. And then all of a sudden you find yourself going through the motions instead of being happy to be here, having a purpose and driven, and I'm playing for the next guy. The next guy's playing for him. And then all of a sudden you all have one common goal. Then you get what you see at Michigan State. On the reverse side, you get the 7-game stretch that we saw. And did some of the injuries play into that, where your beliefs that you want to give yourself an excuse as to why we could lose? Well, we're injured. Well, we're this. Well, we're that. Well, throw that out the window and just believe and play for each other and get what you see at Michigan State.
Absolutely. Look forward to it. Lance Stemler, former Hoosier player, appreciate you joining us as always. A great friend of the show, Lance. How's everything going with you?
Everything's good. Everything's good. Just grinding away, trying to finish up some little youth basketball things and hopefully watch the Hoosiers win tonight.
That would be a great way to finish the week. Lance Stemler, appreciate you joining us as always, friend. Have a great day and good luck tonight.
Yes, sir.
Lance
Thanks,
Stemler,
guys.
you bet. Lance Stemler, former Hoosier baller, joining us as always. Great show today. Brought to you by Bubba's 33 of Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, and beer. If you're looking for a place to watch the Indiana game tonight, that's as good as any. About 50 big screen TVs and the best food you can actually have. So
coldest beer in town.
It's just a great. Oh, they have enclosed their patio just yesterday. I saw that. So now you can go out there. It's awesome.
It's always going to be closed now?
Well, no. Then the summertime they'll undo it.
Gotcha.
A great place to go check that out. But on the program tomorrow, make sure you stick around because Todd Leary will be with us as always. We are going to recap the Iowa game tonight. Normally we do a post-game show, but because of the late tip at the game's at 9 o'clock, it tips. And make sure that if you're looking for a place to listen to the game, you do so right here on this radio station. The game tips at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 8 o'clock Central. The pregame show with Don Fisher, that will start at 8 o'clock as always. So for Justin Kalen, I'm Jim Coyle. Thanks a lot for joining us, and I will see you on the radio.